explain your approach to the use of bonds to fund these and other projects that will come before the Board of County Supervisors?
I plan to vote yes on both the bonds. As I talked before about the road bond, I think the $200 million for Route 28 is critical that we can leverage for state dollars. And I think without that, we're just going to be delayed another year. So I would like to have that option. I support the road bond. And the second one is the parks bond. I support that. They lowered it to $41 million. They got rid of the $89 million moving track. They got rid of one of the larger projects that everybody seemed to wonder what it was about. And I support investment in our parks. $20 million of that is open trails funding, as a matter of fact. And so, the idea of having a better trail system, more connected communities, I think is great. I think anything that we can do also to support youth sports would be wonderful, because the busier we keep our kids, the easier it is to keep them out of trouble. So I support the park system too. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Mike.
I support the bond referendum.
Hold it closer.
I support the bond referendum for the Route 28. The one in the Parks and Recreation, I have to think a little bit more about that, because I would like to see a bond referendum that addresses economic development. Everything we've been talking about costs money. Where is the money going to come from? I do think, like I said, the Route 28 is long overdue in terms of its improvement, but I believe the Parks and Recreation, that's something, you asked me how was I going to vote? Well, November 5th is not here yet, so I still got some time to think about it. But right now, I'm sort of, it's questionable as to how I'm going to vote on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bay?
I intend to vote yes on both of those, because transportation is something that we as a county need money in. We need to fix our roads, particularly Route 28 and some of the arteries that connect to it. Hopefully we'll get the Army Corps of Engineers approval on the bypass, and we can kind of have a separate road for that. For the parks, I believe this is where I will agree with Ann, kind of keeping our kids out of trouble. Having activities for them where they can stay busy and entertain themselves into things that they like to do, not what the things they are pushed to do. We have to make sure that we provide an environment for our kids that nurtures the leaders of the future, whether it's creating community parks, whether it's creating investing in the current parks, creating new trails and helping them live a healthy environment, in a healthy environment, and health and wellness is part of the daily exercise and everything else. Getting them the right environment is the key and is the success for our future.
Thank you. And Mr. Gray, the bond referendums.
I do not support the road bond referendum for several reasons. Number one, the same reason that we've been seeing. Wasn't planned properly. They first started out, when it first came out, at $600 million, and it was dropped down to $355 million just by throwing dollars against the wall and see what's stuck. We as taxpayers have no idea what that $355 million will be planned on, because we weren't getting the details. We weren't getting the details on what the cost of maintaining those roads for the next 10 years. Anything along those lines. To me, it's nothing but $355 million subsidy to taxpayers. 85% of that $355 million will subsidize developers. $70 million at the corner of the Minnieville Road Bridge Road. All right. The Devon Road just connects two potential real estate developments out in Gainesville. How does that improve your quality of life? It doesn't. It needs to be, all of them have to be addressed, but again, it has to be done properly. And the taxpayers, you who's paying for it, has to know it's going to take out about 35 cents more in tax dollars to you. Thank you.
Mr. Gray, you get the next question first. So hold on to the bulky microphone. All of you come from different backgrounds, but you have all landed here in Prince William County and have the wherewithal to run for county office. Please recall one moment in your personal history in which you experienced true adversity, economic, spiritual, familial, or other, that you would qualify as a defining moment in your path to this debate tonight.
One vote?
One moment. A moment in your personal...
I've probably had several defining moments. Probably the most defining moment was I gotta go back all the way, seriously, something I think about on an everyday basis. May 5th, 1968, a guy I worked with was killed in Vietnam that day. It was 2 weeks short of his 18th birthday. I've never forgotten that. I think about Chris on a daily basis. I still see him as an 18-year-old guy. We bust tables and we clean dishes together. And that had a profound effect on me. I always intended on joining the military after high school. I wasn't going to college, and I wasn't college material. But Chris's being killed in action was a profound effect on me. And I enlisted in the Marine Corps soon after that and served 4 years. And to this day, I honestly think of Chris Palmer every day, May 5th, 1968. That's the defining moment. There's been many more. My wife and I got married the day our 4 children were born. Those were defining moments. But as a teenager, there's no doubt, May 5th, 1968.
Thank you. Ms. Wheeler?
So it's sort of a personal question. I mean, I've had a lot of defining moments and moments of clarity in my life where I made major changes. But you know, in regards to running for the Board of County Supervisors, I would have to say most people don't know this, but about 2.5 years ago, I had a minor case of breast cancer, summer breast cancer survivor. You know, and that in itself, I don't really talk about it. I didn't miss a beat. I kept on going. I kept on planning events. You know, I mean, people didn't really let me back away from my life, and I just, you know, I didn't let it define me. But what it did is it woke me up to what I wanted to do with my life. You know, I figure I'm at an age where I'm at the second, you know, or the third portion of my life, and I want to make a difference. You know, and I love this county, and I know this county inside and out, and so I decided to step up and run for chair. You know, I don't know if I would have done it if I hadn't been faced with that adversity, but, you know, life is short, and I want to make the best of it.
Thank you. Mr. Scoggins?
You're better than the next one.
Hard question, I tell you that, because there have been several defining moments in my life, but I would say, thinking back on it, probably the biggest one would be back in 1980. I'm trying to think in the mid 80s. I was a landlord in DC, and I had some property that was, I thought, well, there was this building in DC that me and my wife bought. It was around the corner from where we lived when we lived in DC. But anyway, to make a long story short, I was trying to buy the building to improve the neighborhood. It was a drug-infested building right around the corner from where we lived at the time in DC. And I would see it every day when I was taking my wife to work. So that'd be a good building for us to buy and try to fix it up. Anyway, we bought the building. About 2 weeks after I bought the building, I read someone called me and said, well, electricity went out. So it was an old building, had the fuse and everything. So I went over there to see about cutting electricity on. And one of the young ladies who lived in the building said, they're gonna get you, you know. So I turned around and looked, these 2 guys came up and attacked me, and they, I got attacked in the building. And the police station was right across the street from the building, and I just said to myself, when the devil are they gonna get here, you know. But anyway, that was a defining moment, and that gave me a window into the lives of other people, and maybe we should be a little more concerned about how people who are not as fortunate as I was. That was a defining moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Mr. Bay?
I honestly,
Besides the microphone.
besides, this is the defining moment, really, right here.
A little bit of adversity.
So my life, to be honest with you, has been nothing but defining moments. There was an article written about me last year on Vice President Joe Biden's blog, An Immigrant's Journey to Middle Class. I came to this country, a great land of opportunities, back in 1992. I was a young boy who had a very successful business. I hail from a family back in India that had silk manufacturing business. I came here as a young boy to expand my business. The immigration got the best of me. I ended up on streets. I started my life literally at a $5.25 an hour. My first week's check in New York City was $75. I was trying to figure out then, do I pay for the rent? Do I eat? Or do I pay for the subway token to get to work every day? The first thing that I had to cut was my food, because that's the only thing I could afford to cut. I could not afford to cut the subway token or the rent. The best part of the whole thing was the love of my life, my wife. She was sitting here. That was the anchor and the most defining moment of my life, where my life actually became complete. Thank you.
Thank you. One final question for the candidates, and then we'll move to closing statements. And Mr. Scoggins will be the first to answer this last question. Mr. Scoggins, what issues that have been in the forefront for the last Board of County Supervisors terms should take lesser importance for the next board's term, and how do you propose to achieve this different set of priorities?
To me, there's really no issue that should have a lesser priority. I think the biggest thing is that trying to managing expectations, and that's a very difficult thing to do, because everything that I've heard is important. Everything requires a lot of money. But I would also say that I haven't heard talked about enough is economic development. I think we really need to have more robust economic development to finance all the various needs that we talked about tonight, because we cannot finance everything through a bond referendum. So I would recommend that you said that they should de-emphasize. There's really nothing that should be de-emphasized. I think that what we can do is probably provide more oversight with what is already going on. But as far as de-emphasizing the issue, I really can't think of any. I think everything has been pretty important. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bay.
The first thing I will say, get rid of politics. Next thing I will say, stop criminalizing diversity. First thing is get rid of politics or politics. Number two, I will say stop criminalizing. Doesn't want to listen. Get a new microphone will be the second one. Stop criminalizing diversity. We need to cherish that, not look at it as a bad thing. We need to focus on what is good for the community, not what's good for the developers. Developers are not a problem, but if the board is not doing what it's supposed to do, they do become a problem, because they have their vested interests. The board has to have the vested interests of the community. I think we need to work as a team rather than one against the other. There is a lot of opportunities we can create for ourselves, and we can fix a lot by just becoming a community that's built on humanity and working with each other with humility.
Thank you.
I don't know if anybody heard that.
Better diversity.
Is any of those mics working?
You got the best one. Yours working all the time, man. Asking the questions has the best mic, and answering the questions does not. So what I would say, that the last piece that I was saying is, we have to have a community, the board, that is going to be vested into humanity and engaging with the community with humility and not putting anybody down. We are all equals, and we have the right to be equals, and we need to learn to live as equals and respect each other for who we are, not what we want them to be.
Thank you. Mr. Bragg.
The question is, what issue would we de-emphasize?
What issues that have been in the forefront for the Board of County Supervisors should take lesser importance for the next board's term?
I think what has to take lesser importance on the board's decisions is that they take out their personal politics and vote for the job that they've been elected to. All too often, I see or believe that supervisors may be voting for the next office. What is the effect of this vote on the next office? I didn't elect you to run for the next office. I elected you because I believe in the principles that you stood for, and that you were going to vote for those principles when you're sitting there. I think that that needs to be de-emphasized. Vote for what you've been, vote and lead to what you've been elected to, the office you've been elected to, not the office you aspire to. I understand this is the entry level for politics, and supervisors have further aspirations. But I'm galled by the fact that you can see a vote is for the next elective office. I think that has to be taken out. I don't know how we do that, except working together as a board, sure that, but that's what I'd like to see.
Thank you. And Ms. Wheeler?
I would say that, okay. It's a traveling thing. I would say that one of the,
Keep both of them, whichever.
I would say that one of the things that needs less emphasis is what I would say is the board doesn't operate very cohesively. There seems to be a lot of, I guess I would call it infighting, only that so many of the votes, especially about land use or about budgets, you know, they're split votes. They're 4-4, they're 5-3, things barely get passed, which tells me that no one has a vision, that we're not operating cohesively. You know, I'd like to see less emphasis on people pushing their certain agendas and more leadership and vision for where we want to go. You know, that's why I would say we need to redo the comprehensive plan, but that also goes for other things too, in terms of whether, you know, what is our strategic vision for the county and where do we want to be for the next 20 years. Loudon recently did their comprehensive plan, and it wasn't only about land use, it was about where they wanted to grow to. I believe we're going to continue to grow, and I think we need to work on a vision that everyone is pulling in the same direction.
Thank you. We're gonna move now to closing statements. Now mine is.
So thank you all for coming out tonight, and once again, thank you to the Committee 100 for doing this every year with the League of Women Voters. It's always nice. It's fun to be sitting on this side of the table, because I ran them for so many years, and but I'm grateful for everybody coming out and listening. You know, I think this election is about turning points. We're at a turning point for Prince William County. We've spent 15 years under the leadership of Corey Stewart, and I think we need new leadership in Prince William County. I think we need to change. And I'd like to offer that. You know, I'd love your vote on November 5th to bring real change and real vision about where we want to go. I think we need to change the tone of the county. I mean, you know, this past week has shown there's vast contrast to the people sitting up at this table. I'd like to bring a positive tone, an inclusive tone to Prince William County, one that supports our school system, one that attracts economic development, you know, one that works together regionally with transit solutions, not just, you know, being the secondhand county that everybody always sort of looks down on. I believe that we can work together to make this a wonderful place to live. Prince William County is a great place. We have mountains, we have rivers, we have state forests, we have a highly educated workforce that no one seems to take into account. We have an excellent school system. They're doing great. My kids were educated here. They did great for what they had to work with on the dollars per pupil. And I want people to know that. I want us to use this as a turning point to move forward and be more of a regional player. I want to be someone who can advocate at the state and the federal level to get the resources that we need. I want to lead a new board that says, yes, Prince William County is great. Come here. It's a great place to live, work, and play. And then hopefully eventually we attract people to their businesses. And you know, I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to speak tonight, and I just ask people to look at the contrast between all the candidates, and please vote for me on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wheeler. Mr. Gray, 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Okay. Again, my thanks for having us here this evening, and to Committee of 100 and the League of Women Voters, and Bruce, you did a great job with or without the microphone. Okay. I'll go back to my opening statement. We have a critical choice in November, and we have 4 different visions. And I'll go back to my 3 priorities, which are public safety, lower taxes, and jobs. Public safety is not a political issue. It's not a political ideology. Public safety is just that. It's the safety of you, it's the safety of your family, it's the safety of your children. It should not be a political issue. It should be job one of every elected official, federal, state, or local. It will be my first priority, and that will be my continuing enforcement and support of 287G. Welcoming criminals into Prince William County, it should not be a question. right? Should not reduce your public, it should not reduce the safety to your family. Right? The second one again is lower taxes. Okay, is lower taxes. Again, I've heard the mantra that, oh, that's all Republicans talk about is lower taxes. Well, it's not true. If we have lower taxes, we're going to attract businesses here, which will create jobs, which will create additional revenues, which lowers your individual tax burden. It's not difficult formula, but we can implement it. 32 years in Prince William County, I haven't seen that. I want to see the quality of your life improved. Next one again is jobs, and relates to, I just said that, bringing jobs into Prince William County. That will improve. My job as your chairman, not only your public safety, but to improve your quality of life. When we're coming across any decision before the board, I want to know how does it improve the quality of life of every single individual person in Prince William County. I know you can't do everybody all at once, but I want to see how does it improve your quality of life, how does it reduce your taxes. It can happen, and I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bay, your closing statement, 2 minutes.
First of all, I want to thank the Committee of 100 and the League of Women Voters for hosting this event and giving us the opportunity to talk to you and address the community, the concerns. What I would like to see is get away from the patchwork that we have created as this county as. We are not 7 districts, we are 1 county. That's the first place I would like to start with. When we look at rural Crescent, we look at it as a separate. When we look at east side, we look at separate. When we look at different areas of the county, we look at it as separate pieces. We do not understand the impact. What happens in east might have an impact in west, and what happens in west might have an impact in the east or the mid-county. I would like to change that and help us come and look at it together. One thing I will say is to everybody here, go and look at my resume and compare it to all the people that are on the table. I will challenge that actually my resume will be plus of all 3 on the other side. That's how much experience I have gained in my life. When we look at the education that is out there, we have to focus on making sure that our kids become the next Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and we create those small businesses right here in this county that become the next big Apple and next big Google. We can do that. We have the talent, we have the resources. When we look at the PDR, TDR, and the clustering in the rural Crescent, we really need to come to the table and understand what really it entails and where is the money to pay for all of those things. Saying that we can save the county, we can save the Crescent, does not really do much unless we have some solid plan that actually can be executed upon. I also want to make sure that we do not create politics again in here. We have seen in the past week, candidates like to pull dirt on each other and gain them brownie points. It does not help. We need to stop pulling dirt on each other and become one body, as a one community, as a one family, and lead the Prince William as one Prince William County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bay. Thank you. And finally, Mr. Scoggins.
What I would like to say is that I think that Prince William County, essentially, we need to focus on the basics. We've talked about many things tonight, and I think that everything we talked about could be considered essential. However, I think that we need to be more focused. My focus will be on economic development, because I think that Prince William County is far behind in terms of the region when it comes to attracting businesses, and we could do more if we had better economic development. One thing I would like to propose would be public-private partnerships. We should do an inventory of all the land that the county owns and that the county government owns, and see which properties can be disposed of properly and which ones we should keep. I think we need to have a more transparent in our government in terms of the contracts, everything. In my campaigning around, I've seen that there have been, Prince William County has operated for a long time like as an old boys network. I think we need to have more transparency in our governance, and also think that we need to change the vision and the tone of the county. Because some people, to be honest about, let's just be frank, many people do not want to come to Prince William County because they figure that it's behind, so let's say. So we can set ourselves apart if we have something that will want people to be here, and that's why I'm pushing for the standalone trade school. We need to do something that will set us apart in Northern Virginia. Fairfax has Thomas Jefferson. Prince William County can have a top-notch trade tech school that other people from outside of the county would even want to come and attend. And I think that's what we need to do. Be focused. My motto will be focused, don't try to do everything, but let's just try to pick several things that we can do well, and the others will take care of themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Thank you to all of our candidates for your time this evening and for sharing your ideas and thoughts about the future of our county. About another round of applause for all of our candidates.